Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 36 of Global Contenders, the review series for Gran Turismo's touring car lineup, both real and fictional, and this particular vehicle is, by a significant margin, around 100 horsepower in fact, the most powerful touring car in the game. And being as it is based on an R35 GTR, that's not too surprising. The GTR in all of its forms on Gran Turismo is a very strong all-round performance vehicle, be it concepts, road cars, race cars, anything. They're all very, very competitive. And this car is no different. Now, I say that its margin of being the most powerful is around 100 horsepower, so what's the next most powerful? Well, it's another GTR. The R34 Skyline is the second most powerful, and the Skylines, or specifically GTRs as an overall range, are actually some of the best touring cars in the game for value for money. And I may actually say that although I don't believe this is the best touring car as such, I would say this is quite possibly the best value touring car, because those two things are very different. To be the best value touring car in the game isn't actually all that difficult. You just need to offer a good level of performance and all-round ability for a reasonable price, and that is why I would give this car the title of the best in that regard, because I do believe that as far as sheer spec and performance for the money goes, nothing else really comes close to it. For 358,000 credits, you get 1,059 horsepower, 766 foot-pounds of torque, all-wheel drive, 872 horsepower per tonne, and even though it is heavier, around 200 kilos heavier in fact, than many DTM cars, considering its size, and that it is a GTR, which tend to be heavier anyway, that's really an impressive spec. The PEP is also very high at 687, not at all surprising for a GTR, they're all very high. And so, for 358 grand, or just under, really nothing comes close in the touring car category for just how much spec you get for the money. Again, I would probably say that the next best thing might be the R34, which does offer 964 horsepower for roughly 250,000 credits. This car, though, takes it to the next level. And being an R35 GTR, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a popular choice because people love the GTR. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the R35. I have more respect for it than love for it. I like what it's capable of, I respect the engineering behind it, but I don't love the car, and I tend not to use it for the same reason that most people do, and that is, everyone does. That puts me off a car instantly, regardless of how good it may be. I will only use that vehicle when there's really hardly any other option, or when it really is so much better than everything else that there's really no point in trying to compete. And although that's not totally the case with this car, it can be beaten for sure, it's very close to being the case. Now that being said, as I mentioned earlier, there is a big difference between being the best value vehicle in a category and being the best vehicle in a category. In effect, you've got three primary ways of defining the best car. You've got the fastest, which is what most people go by. You've got the best all-round, that includes handling, price, speed, drivability, beginner-friendly nature, attainability, etc. And then you've got value, which, as we covered earlier, is basically bang for buck. Those three broad categories are the best ways, I think, of determining the best car in any given way. Now, the GTR is not the fastest touring car in the game. The acceleration is very strong, but the top speed is still only roughly the same kind of level as an Astra DTM or Mercedes CLK DTM. So it's not purely the fastest. It may get there quicker than they do, but it doesn't really go any quicker as far as top speed. This is, for instance, no way near as quick as the road-going GTRs. It's just not that dominating a machine. But the all-round ability of the GTR just allows it to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, that being said, GTRs are actually quite temperamental when it comes to tuning. They're actually set up, and the best way that I can explain this is to say that an R35 GTR, more so I would say than any other GTR, is very much like a fine watch. It does the job, it's set up perfectly to do that job, and once you start tinkering with the way it works, you might make it work better, but chances are you're probably not going to. You're probably going to make it worse. And that's, to some degree, what the R35 feels like. Yes, you can make it faster, but that doesn't necessarily make it better. Making a car faster in a straight line, at least on a game, isn't that difficult. Making it have better handling, that is a totally different ballgame. And the GTR already has such good handling that unless you really take your time, test multiple methods of doing things, you can end up just making it a different version of essentially the same handling, or worse. It's very difficult to actually make the GTR better than it already was around corners. And that is definitely the case with the touring car. I would say even more so than with the road cars, because with the road cars you can fit racing parts to them to attain that goal. With the race car, it's already got all those things, so the risk of making it worse is much higher. Now, with this vehicle, I would not say that handling is its best point. The GTR is called Godzilla for a reason. It's a big car for one thing, and you can feel that with the R35 Touring Car. It's even bigger than pretty much any other GTR race car. It has a huge body kit, plus the all-wheel drive makes the handling feel heavier. It's not overly lightweight anyway. It is by GTR standards, but not by touring car standards in general. And although the handling is certainly good enough to get the job done, this is a car to some degree, especially in fully tuned form, that you do have to put more effort into than you're probably expecting. It most certainly does not do all the work for you. So overall, if you're looking for pure overwhelming ability for a very good price, being as it is between $750,000 and $1 million credits cheaper than many of the DTM cars, then there really is nothing better than this as far as I'm concerned. You just get amazing numbers for the money. If, however, you're looking for the best touring car, well, this may not be that. But overall, that's it for this particular pick, and it's certainly a great car to go for if you do decide to. But I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.